Hi everyone, welcome to lecture 8. In this lecture, I'll talk about strings, string manipulation, methods that work on string, and then I'll talk about print formatting. So we have until now talked about integers, floating points, and booleans. These are object types in Python. Today I'm introducing another object type that's called strings. So strings are essentially ordered sequence of characters. For example, you can see anything in quotes, whether it's single or double, is a string. For example, hello, Sam, or even a number in quotes. Let's look at some examples in Spider to understand what strings are. Open Spider. As I said, anything in quotes is a string. For example, this is a string. I can just go and run this and I get the output as hello. Just like other object types in Python, I can assign this string to a variable, for example, s in this case, and I can go and print s and I get the string, right? I can have numbers if they are in quotes as string. And the way I determine what object type my string is, I simply go and type type and then string, whatever string I have. So let's say I have world, right? I get the output as str, and that's the keyword for recognizing strings. Okay. So now I'll talk a little bit about how to print strings in different formats in different ways, starting with using double quotes. So we've seen this before. I can type a string using double quotes both sides or single quotes, just like I did here earlier. Both are valid strings. The other important thing to remember when typing strings is that sometimes I need to use these quotes within my sentence. For example, I want to have a string that says he said and then hello world. This is a legal Python string because the rule that we need to remember is that anything that begins with a single quote must end with a single quote, and anything that begins with a double quote must end with a double quote. So this is a valid string because both of them match. Let's go and print this. Or in fact, a better way to do that is to say print and then actually see the actual string. So I still have my double quotes retained. Okay, let's look at another example. I have a string which is extending into another line, and let me assign it to a variable. We know what assignment is from our previous lectures. And as you can see, this turned black, which means this is not valid. I'm also getting this code analysis that I will get an error, but let me actually run and show you that we will get this end of line error. In order to get multiple lines, one very simple way is to have 3 single quotes or 3 double quotes and then go and run this and then simply say T and I get this multi-line string. Now notice that there is this \n that gets introduced in my string, this character, and I can again, let me repeat that, I can do that with double quotes as well. 3 double quotes ending with 3 double quotes is the same thing. Let me go and just print it. Okay, I forgot the third one, and then we can go and print this. You can see this \n again. That is the backslash is called the escape character, and I was coming to the topic escape characters. This backslash is called an escape character, which essentially tells the interpreter that whatever follows this backslash has a special meaning. For example, in case of our multi-line string, there is this n there. Sometimes I explicitly want to add to my string a new line. For example, this is escape character n, new line. This escape character n is going to explicitly add that line when I say print. Print, and then just like always, print this. As you can see, I get a new line when I introduce this character. The backslash is also used with other values. For example, there is this tab value that I can explicitly go and create in my string. And this is essentially used to store data in the form of columns. So let's say I have column 1 and I said escape character T. This will introduce a tab in my string, some space in my string. Column 2 and then again backslash T and so on. Column 3 and so on. So let's go and check how this works. As you can see, I have spaces introduced. So that's backslash T. Okay, another way of using this escape character is that in a single quote string, I might sometimes want to have another single quote that has some other meaning, right? You can do this, right? In order to have this printed, I can simply introduce an escape character. This tells the interpreter that the meaning of this code that occurs here is not the same as the delimiters. So these are also called delimiters because I'm trying to delimit my string. This gets printed as it is. So this is another way of using escape character. Another way is sometimes I might need in my sentence the backslash itself. Either choose 1, 2, right? And then this is an escape character. This will work as a backslash T. And I don't want that to happen like that. So if I explicitly want this backslash to appear in my string, all I have to do is club it with another one. Let's see. And as you can see, I get that as it is. So these are some of the methods to print your strings and use escape characters. Now, the next topic that I'm covering in this lecture is indexing and slicing with strings. Let me create a string s equals table, and I want to access some of the elements of the string. It's important to notice that the way I can count the characters in my string is starting from 1. So the number of characters in this string s is 5, table, right? But the way the characters are positioned begins from starting from 0. That's how Python counts your characters. So the position of T is 0, the position of A is 1, and so on. And in order to access those elements, we need to know the position. And the syntax for that is the name of the string and then the square brackets. And then I can access the first element because the first element, which is T is at position 0. Okay, I did not create this string, so let me do that. S had some other value, obviously. Now, as you can see on the right hand side, I get this T as the output. Similarly, I can access my second element, which is obviously 1. As I said, Python counts from 0 up to the last element. So that's A. The way you can get the length of your string is by using the function len. So if I say len s and just run it, I get 5. So the way that the len function works is it counts starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's important to remember that. Now, how to access the last element? And this is an important question because sometimes we do not know what's the length of my string. In this case, which is s equals table, I know I can simply go and say s square bracket 4, and then I can get the last element, which is e. But another more efficient method is to go and say s minus 1, because if I start counting the position of the elements from the last element onwards, this is minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and so on. So s minus 1 will give me the last element. Another way of doing that, again square brackets, that's the syntax, is go and get the length of the string and then subtract by 1, because remember, length of the string is counted from 1 and indexing is from 0. So I still get the last element. So that's indexing. Let's talk about slicing. Slicing is to get substrings out of a string. So for example, I want to get certain elements within my string. The syntax is go and get the string and then square brackets and then start colon stop wherever you want to stop and then step. And in each of them is optional. If you just don't have any of them, it will return the entire string. So let me show you again. Let's say my new string is chair and I create it again. And then I just want the elements starting from the first. My first is h, right? Because the way it indexes is starting from 0. So I want to start from h and go up to I. Now if I want to go up to I need to take care of the fact that this is counting from 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. I have to include my one more than what I want, because the way slicing will work is it will count from 1 to 3 only. It will output only 1 to 3. So as you can see, I do not get R, but I still need to include that in my slicing equation. Let's say I have this string chair table and I can go and skip every 2 element and then go up to, let's say, my 8th element. So this is skipping by 1. So instead of, so that's what the step means. I can skip by 2. Here it will begin with H and then it will pick up I and so on. Let's see. This is how this works. So I can decide my step size. This is called slicing in strings. Okay. Next, I wanted to talk about some methods that work on strings. But this will be continued in the next lecture. So see you there.